All right. Well, we definitely want to get into looking at some portfolios and giving some feedback and giving everybody else an opportunity to kind of learn from the feedback that we'll be giving. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So just for introductory purposes, my name is Scott Schmidt. I am one of the ID mentors on the Devlin Peck team. So I work with students in really a variety of the Devlin Peck programs. Went through the boot camp which is now evolved into our Peck Academy. And so, I really enjoy working with our students on the portfolios, among other things. So, Sabrina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sabrina Gonzalez, one of the other ID mentors on the team. So same as Scott, help people transition to instructional design, working on their deliverables, giving that one-on-one feedback. I also spend quite a bit of my time here with Devlin working on course development for the program. And so that ID Project Lab course he's been talking a lot about, I've been helping out with that. And yeah, really excited for you guys to see some of that once it comes out.
All right. Yes. Thanks, Sabrina. I'm going to go ahead. We have actually a few questions for you to kind of help us get to know a little bit more about where you're at in your own portfolio journey. So I just shared one poll. If you take a look over there on the right side of your screen, it is a separate tab. You'll have chat, polls, and handouts. If you go to the polls, which of the following best describes you in terms of where you're at as an instructional designer? We'll wait for some of those answers to come in. This does seem pretty typical for our events. A lot of folks trying to become instructional designers. Awesome. We got a couple of managers of IDs. That's nice. All right. Well, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and start another poll question for you here. Let's see. This one right here. So there should be another question there, which I'm sorry, have you started building your portfolio yet? This is going to be interesting to see where everybody's at in the portfolio process.
I feel like I need that one to be a select all that applies. Like I am proud of my portfolio, but I also want to improve it. I don't know if any of you feel
Right.
that same way.
And honestly, Sabrina makes a great point here. Your portfolio technically should always be a work in progress. You don't necessarily have to rebuild the whole thing, but the portfolio really should kind of be a living document. So let's see. Oh, we got quite a mix here. Yes, but I'd like to improve. Yes, it's a work in progress. And not yet, really kind of a good mix there. We got a few that are proud of their existing portfolios. That's great. All right. How about one more question for you here? What do you feel like is the hardest part of creating your portfolio? This question may impact the focus that Sabrina and I use to give feedback on the portfolios we're going to look at today.
And those of you who sent in your portfolios, thank you so much for sending them in. It can be a little scary, right, to put your work out there and have it be, I guess, judged, but given feedback on it live in front of lots of people. So I appreciate you sending those in and being brave.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the great ways to learn is learn from others, right? And so people who are willing to put themselves out there for the betterment of everybody else as well, we really appreciate that. Absolutely. And we have quite a mix here, right? Looks like choosing the right projects is the front runner right now, but visual design, compelling write-ups, getting feedback, staying consistent, finishing projects, kind of all over the board here. So, well, that's good because we've got some good examples to kind of cover with all of these areas. So, okay. All right. Well, just as a reminder here, the name of this event is From Zero to Hired. and how you can use your portfolio to land a great ID role if you don't already have one. I know we have some folks who are already working in ID. But the portfolio really is, even according to our research, Devlin has surveyed many, many, many folks in the industry and including hiring managers. And we have learned that the portfolio is a very key piece to landing a good instructional design role. Without it, it's very difficult to even get interviews. So, but just having a portfolio isn't necessarily going to work on its own, especially in today's climate where the job market is kind of tough right now. So having a good standout portfolio that's really going to do the work for you to show that you are the solution to their learning needs, a company, a client, whoever it may be, that's what we want to help you with the feedback we're going to show you today. So, all right. Well, Sabrina, are you ready? Should we go ahead and dive in here?
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
All
So the
right.
first portfolio that we have is one of the submissions that we got is from Antionette Norris Woodson. And before I start too, we're going to see portfolios of a variety of like levels, either some just starting out, some that are pretty polished. But no matter where your portfolio is, there's always room to improve it or look for things to adjust and stuff like that. So I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look at Antoinette's portfolio. All right, so here we have it. It is a one-page portfolio, which is totally a great approach. You don't have to have multiple pages in your portfolio. You can have a one-page, really nice, organized portfolio that does exactly what you need it to do. So what I love about Antoinette's portfolio is that she has a nice variety of projects, right? We see a storyline project, we see a rise sample, we see synthesia, Heijen. So she's doing lots of things, right? We have our basics storyline. Always having one of those projects is great. Rise is a good one to show off too as a secondary project because lots of people are looking for those who know how to use Rise. And then she's also showing off some of these AI skills, which we are seeing more and more show up in job roles. So I think this is fantastic that she has this big variety of projects. I also really love these banners that she has kind of separating these. What I would recommend is giving us some space. That's something that I see a lot with portfolios, especially after working on a project, is people kind of pack a lot of things into one spot. So we're used to working on like a slide and storyline, but now with a portfolio, you have all of this space to really give yourself some breathing room. And so that white space can be used strategically. When we use nice white space and spaces like between things, it helps guide viewers' eyes to what we want them to see. So just adding some space between sections, I think will really help let everything breathe, give it all its moment to shine, which we want it to. You've put in all this work into these projects. We want to make sure that they all have their moment. Just for some consistency things, like this one is centered, but this one is left aligned. So just making sure they're all have the same alignment, and then button placement, just like we would in a learning experience, we want to lower that like cognitive or like that like fatigue and stuff so people aren't searching for the buttons. The same with our websites. We want navigation to be easy. So if the button is always in the same spot, like under the text, then they know where to look for it and we're not searching for buttons. So it makes navigation pretty easy too. Yeah. Okay. Some lots of stuff down here too. I really love having a contact form on a website. Highly recommend it. I think that's where I've gotten most of my like opportunities from is people reach out through that contact form. This one here, when we fill out the form, it makes us go to another page. So if there is a way for you to embed it straight into your website, think that'd be great. The like less amount of clicks that we have people go through, the better, like removing some of those barriers for them to like reach out to us. And then last, I would think like a navigation bar up here would be good since you have this little about me section down here, clicking so that people can scroll right down to it. Just some of those navigation pieces I think really help navigate your website and make things a little bit easier to find. Those are the big ones that I had. Scott, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share.
Yeah, sure. I'll quick share my screen so I can point some things out here. Okay. So one thing that we've also learned from hiring managers is they like to see kind of what your process is, right? How did you go about creating these learning experiences? Because part of it is they may not know exactly well, did you build this? Did you just do the visual design? Did you just do the storyboarding? So, one thing I would recommend is for at least one of these projects here, I would do like kind of a full write up on your process for this project because it really shows a hiring manager that you have the core knowledge and understanding of adult learning principles and theories, and that you applied those to the design of the project in a very intentional way. So things like introducing, here was the problem that I was trying to solve. I decided on this solution because it helps the learners in this way. Then talk about, the storyboarding process and the visual design. And throughout there, if you can incorporate references to different adult learning theories that apply, that really shows that you have that background knowledge as well. So I would recommend here, for at least one of these projects, being able to click on a button and going to a dedicated page where you get to learn about the process for that particular project. You don't necessarily have to do it for every project. I personally think it's good to have at least a little bit of a write up for every project that you're going to feature. But at least for one, you want that kind of comprehensive right up there. I was going to say a lot of the same things that Sabrina did. Having some spacing, giving things a little bit of breathing room would help. I also like the kind of the banners as separators, but when they're so close to the content, it kind of creates this like striping effect, which can be a little bit visually fatiguing when you don't have a ton of content between the banners. But even just adding some more space here below this banner and above this one really goes a long way to making those banners do work for you in the way that you want. So let's see. One other just real quick thing that I wanted to mention. In the Let's see, where is it? Yeah, down here in this video, there's a scroll bar. So I'm not sure if like the web element that this is embedded in or whatever that may be, if you can make it so that it doesn't have that scroll bar, that would be great. It doesn't really go anywhere, but it's one of those things that can make somebody's focus their attention on not the video, but like, why is there a scroll bar here? Oh, it doesn't scroll very far. What am I missing? Is there more content that I'm not seeing? We really want to help people focus on the content there. So yeah, there we go. That's all I had for that one.
All right. The next one that we're going to look at is Manjiri's portfolio that she sent over to us. All right. I think the last one too, as well as this one, are built on Google Sites, which is great. You don't have to pay for like an expensive web builder to build your portfolio. There are sites like Google Sites where you can have a website for free and still make it look really clean and polished, like we'll see throughout this whole session. So this is Manjiri's. I really love, one thing you'll notice throughout this is she's very good about being consistent with her color palette. Every page that we look at is going to have this pink font that we see throughout and like the pink buttons. So she does a really good job of keeping that consistent throughout, which is really important. Something that I see on like early portfolios is the like homepage will look wonderful. And then as you move to a different page, you can start to see some variations. So just making sure that you're having consistency throughout is super important. And also think of your portfolio this way, that this is a lot of time someone's first impression of your work. So making sure that it's super polished is important, just as important as the projects on your portfolio, making sure those are polished. She also does a really good job of having a variety of projects. So we have like a scenario based thing, we have some animated videos, we have a software simulation, a visual guide. So she has a wide variety of projects. If you are looking to do a wide variety of projects, this is a great way to showcase that. If you're really wanting to focus in on specifically like e-learning or VILTs or something like that, that those are mostly what you'd want to show. But if you're just casting a wide net, showing lots of projects to show your the like all of the skills that you have is also a good idea. If we look up here at the top for some feedback, in her hero section, she mentions that she's a teacher and a published author. If you are targeting corporate ID roles, then I would make sure the language in this section does reflect that. We don't want someone to see teacher like, oh, they're not an instructional designer, even though you have those skills, right? And they transfer. We want to make sure that we're using the language they're familiar with so that they can see that our skills are definitely helpful for what they need. So making sure that this is more so reflecting you as an instructional designer. You can still use these things in your about section, but just looking for ways to reframe your experience to show them that you do have the skills to do what they're looking for. In your hero section, I also recommend having some kind of call to action. So a button. Anytime you can direct your users where you want them to go, the better, instead of them just kind of scrolling around and looking at stuff. If you know you want them to look at a specific project, linking to a button there right away that they want to click is really helpful, or to get in contact with you, things like that. So consider throwing in a button here to either view like a featured project or to contact you would also be good. And then I did say you have a wide variety of projects. On the homepage, I highly recommend just choosing like your strongest project and featuring that there, because you do also have your portfolio page where you list all of those. So having one to focus on the homepage is like perfect, draw their attention. And then if they want to explore more, then that's when they can go to your portfolio page and see all of the work that you've done. Some like small things, visual design stuff, is your buttons, just adding a little more padding. So giving yourself a little bit more space around the text. You can even just make the text smaller. I think it was in the write up where I saw, yeah, the text here is a little bit smaller. You can see we have more spacing. So I would just consider doing that throughout. Again, keeping that consistency. That pink stands out really nicely on this background. So it's going to be very clickable. People are going to want to click it. So you can make that text just a little bit smaller. Um, oh, on the portfolio page, which is the same as like that part of your homepage, I would really recommend adding what tools you used here. So even just underneath it, of just like tools used or something, and listing them, because not until I was clicking in did I realize how many different tools you are skilled in. So here, because I'm familiar with it, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be storyline. And then animated explainer video could really be anything. But then I saw you're using Beyond, which is also a tool that people want people to know how to use. So I would highly recommend adding your tools here, just so like when people are scrolling, if they're looking for a specific tool for someone to be skilled in and they see that, they're likely to click, they're likely to get in contact. So I think that could be really beneficial because you are showing such a wide variety of tools that you're using. Let's see. Oh, there was one more thing that I wanted to point out in this write-up. So the one in Germany, I like the format that you have. It's very close to what we teach in our show in the academy. One thing I would recommend for everyone when you're doing your write-ups is really talking about the why. So that's what people want to see. I think Scott mentioned that. And the last one is they really want to see the why. So in your solution section too, you can talk about what solution you recommended, but then you want to also talk about why is that the best solution? Why was that the best for this problem? So those are some things. Like I said, I think this one is really strong. Some small things to tweak, but it's looking really good. So I'll hand it over to you, Scott, if you have anything else to share.
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts. Let me share my screen. All right. One thing I really want you to notice, there is no fancy design here. That is okay. The most important thing is that it's easy and quick for a person checking out your portfolio to get the information they need. Of course, you want it to be designed nicely and follow good visual design principles. I really appreciate the kind of no nonsense approach to this. I can very easily and very quickly scroll through here and I know exactly what I'm looking at. And that's hiring managers really appreciate that. I want you to imagine, hiring managers are probably looking at dozens of these things. They want it to be easy and quick to find the information they need. So I really appreciate the kind of no nonsense look here, but it's still designed. You can see that it was very intentionally designed. So I really like that. One thing I also wanted to draw on that related to what Sabrina said, how you said teacher, and it's like you may or may not want to kind of like highlight that. The same thing goes with education jargon or language. When you say pedagogical or pedagogical, I don't know, potato, but that means teaching children, right? So using those words can possibly work against you. Not necessarily for sure, but they can kind of work against you. And the same thing if I go to your about page. Well, I guess you are. I'm hoping. Yeah. Oh, Manjiri, it looks like you are here. I just see a little comment from you. Same thing here. You say as a published author of a children's short story compilation. I would just say as a published author and avid learner, you are an author. Does it really matter that it was a children's story? You are a published author. That is a valuable skill that you have. So that's one thing that you might want to consider. It is up to you. That is a kind of a personal thing on whether you want to include those things. One thing also, I'm going to also reference the etiquette while in Germany. I really love that you included a model here, a learning framework, theory, model. And not only did you say, well, I used it, you go into detail about how you did each step. Those things can really be powerful for you to get those up, get interviews for some of these jobs. Okay. Let's see. There was one thing I was going to. I also wanted to hit on before we move on. Duh, 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 duh. Oh, I know what it was. So, and I think I saw in the comments somebody else had kind of mentioned this. Remember that your portfolio is kind of like a marketing piece for you. It's you advertising who you are and the skills that you have, right? And hiring managers, like I said, I said this before, they want to see that you can solve their learning needs. In this brief, in the brief statement about each project, you might want to include what is the end benefit for the learner? It says interactive scenario-based course on German etiquette. Well, what does that ultimately help them do? Because that's what hiring managers are looking for. We need our employees to be able to do this thing better because it's going to lead to this. If you can include in this brief statement, it's an interactive scenario-based course on German etiquette to help new folks in Germany avoid XYZ or something like that. If you can make a statement that touches on the end benefit, now you're talking about solutions and benefits of the projects. So just something to consider. But that'd be my last little bit of feedback there. I really do like the simple design. So all right, go ahead and keep moving because I think I'm going to take the next one. Sabrina, you're good. Okay. All right. So next, um, we have a portfolio from Melly Diaz. Melly, I hope you're here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So here we go. Here's Melly's. As I scroll through here, again, I want you to notice that there's a very consistent structure, and that can really help people navigate the portfolio much more easily. So again, like as I scroll through here, it's very consistent. It's very predictable. I can see the first two projects and I can effortlessly look at the rest of it and know exactly what I'm looking at. So I definitely appreciate that, the organization there. There's a very clear design language. You know, if we look at this, the consistency in the fonts and the hierarchy and the look at the buttons, all the buttons are designed exactly the same. You can start to see that design language come through, and all of those things, when you can make that really consistent and flow nicely, it really allows the visitor to focus on the content while still looking at a nicely designed page. So really, really like that. Let's see. Let me go to one of the project write-ups. Okay. See, like, look here. We've got a good image. We can download the pieces right here, right at the top. This is like what Sabrina said. Look, developed using, here's the tools that we used, right? Here are the different deliverables. I can download them, like I said. And as I scroll through here, just the organization is really, really good here. I can very easily scroll through this and know exactly what I'm looking at and find what I'm looking for. I also like this kind of thing, like what she's got here, this kind of graphic organizer is a great way to kind of break up the monotony of the page. These write-ups can get pretty long, right? If you can use things to break up the flow a little bit and add some visual interest, that can help keep the visitor's attention there. Let me go to your about page real quick. I really love how clean and simple but effective this is. I'm not going to read it out loud, but the description here in the about page is it just really hits on everything that we want to do. You want to promote your skills. You want to say a little bit about you. We got a really nice, personal but professional looking photo, which is great. This is about you. This is where we get to learn a little bit more about you. So the nice photo that's not like, in a corporate stuffy office environment, but is more of a personal look. I really like that. Okay. Let's see. One thing real quick about these buttons. When I read case study, that to me suggests like research, but this is an actual thing that you created and produced. So you may consider, uh, like explore the project, something like that, learn more. But again, case study to me suggests that I'm going to read a bunch of research, but it's something you actually created. So that's something to consider. In the hero section, now this is an optional thing. Some people like to do this, some people don't. There is no, and we actually haven't seen this yet in any of the portfolios we've looked at. There is no photo of you in the hero section up here. Now, some people prefer not to do that because they don't want people making judgments about them. But adding the photo also does personalize it. It makes it feel like, oh, this is a real person. I'm dealing with a person and not like an organization. So something to consider, everybody. If you, again, some people are nervous about it because of race, age, gender. All those things are definitely things to consider, and you should do what's comfortable for you. So just something I noticed. Let me point out a couple more things, and then to, Sabrina, I'll pass it over to you. Oh, one thing down here on the homepage as well. You'll notice that I talked about the consistency, but I found something that's not quite as consistent. If we look at these images, these are rounded corner images. They are all exactly the same size, which is great. But then we get down to here and it's rectangular. And it's probably because this is a plugin to allow people to navigate the Google Slides. I personally would not recommend letting people navigate the Google Slides right here on the homepage, because then you might lose them. They might be like, oh, look, I'm just going to go ahead and cycle through this. And now they might be like, well, what am I looking at here? I don't know. And now I'm confused. So I'm just going to check out. All right. I would probably recommend just putting an image representing one of the slides, have them go into a page about it or follow a link to go look at it. Okay. Because we want them to check out some of the details of those things. So, all right. Well, I will stop sharing my screen. Sabrina, do you have any thoughts for Melly?
Yeah, just some small things. So I totally agree with what Scott was saying with the buttons. That's just like a general like UX UI thing, is having your buttons kind of describe to your user what's going to happen so that they can predict what's going to happen when they click that button. It also just makes it more clickable, right? So yeah, explaining that this is like to learn more or to view the project or whatever it is, making those action oriented just makes it a little bit more clickable and makes it more predictable for your user. So part of that navigation piece. Some things that were already said. The visual design of this website is really solid, very consistent throughout. I think the hierarchy is also very nice. So we can see the difference between like headings, and then we have some of the titles here, and then some smaller things, and then body text. This is all consistent throughout, which is really solid. It's small things like that that make portfolios feel super polished and very professional. Just looking at the text and making sure that the hierarchy looks good. So that is really important. And again, helps with the navigation, right? It draws our eye of like what we should read in order. So Melly did a very good job with that. The only thing that I had saw that Scott hadn't mentioned just yet is on this right up here for the accessible PowerPoints. We don't have any ending, right? We kind of just end. But I did see you do have them on your other write-ups where we end with this like nice banner to contact you. So I'd say just making sure you have that there. Again, I think I've said it before, but having like buttons or call to actions or something when we're at these different pieces, guiding our users at this on our portfolio is super helpful, right? That's our chance to like guide their navigation, get them to see the things that we want them to see. So just making sure you have it on that other write-up too, I think will be really good. And this one here is just like a recommendation that I recommend for anybody's contact page. I still need to do it on my own contact page, but what I recommend is this is also one more opportunity to tell them your value statement. So like in the hero section of your homepage, that's where you say like, I create these kind of learning experiences, or I solve these kind of problems with learning solutions, whatever your value statement is, adding it to your contact page or just somewhere in here to like just re-emphasize why they should contact you, I think could be really beneficial of just like, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I do. Contact me. You're on this page already. Let me remind you why. So definitely recommend adding that value statement there as well. All right, hand it back over to you, Scott.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you, Sabrina. All right, we're moving right along here. So I'm going to try to pronounce the name correctly here. I'm going to do my best. We have a portfolio from Afroze. If you are here and you want to let us know if I pronounced your name incorrectly, you want to put it in the chat, I would love to know. I would really like to be able to say your name correctly. So anyway, here we go. Let's take a look at the portfolio. This is another one. I really like the kind of no nonsense approach here. It's very clean, very simple, but intentionally designed. Here we've got a very large hero section, which is actually pretty typical. I like it. I really like that we have this really large, powerful branding statement right here. Learning that makes a difference, not just a deliverable. These kinds of branding statements really help people understand what your emphasis is and tell us a little bit about your philosophies when you're designing learning solutions. We also have right here, this is what Sabrina mentioned earlier. Look, right away, I can go to work samples. I can even, if I just is like, I'm in, I'm sold. I love your tagline. Bam, I can click let's connect and connect with you immediately. The easiest, the ways, if you can make it as easy as possible for people to reach out to you, that is always ideal. So scrolling down here, I mean, again, look at this. Very simple, very clean, but intentionally designed. We got the consistent headings here. We have a short statement. We don't need a paragraph here for this. This short statement tells us everything we need to know. Look at the learning philosophy. We have some graphics here to add some visual interest. We've got the little icons here to again add some of that visual interest, and it's following the branding. Look at the orange of the button. It's following that orange here. So those design consistencies can really go a long way. Then we have my creative process, and we've got a little blurb about that. And that's basically it. Then down here, again, we can contact. Very, very simple and very, very clean. I really, really like that. Now on the homepage though, Sabrina had mentioned this before. It would probably be good to have at least one featured project here, because we really, your portfolio is a collection of your work that you are saying, hey, this is a representation of what I can do for you too. So I would recommend putting at least one project, and definitely, and Sabrina mentioned, probably you don't need to put that many. Some people will maybe put 2 or 3, but one big featured one is definitely recommended here. So that's something I would definitely do. Let's see. Let me go to this e-learning portfolio page here. All right. So one thing that I would recommend here for these projects, there is a little bit of inconsistency here, because like these ones down here, these have a title: Achieving Brand Consistency Using Canva, Navigating Istanbul, Navigating Earthquake Safety. But the featured one up here, there's no title for that one. So what I would suggest is come up with a consistent structure for each of these projects and use that consistent structure. Give it a title. You can say what it was built in, and then you have the little blurb. But I would follow some text hierarchy here. I would make the title the most prominent thing. Okay. Then below that, you can have the built-in. That can be a little bit smaller, maybe bigger than this text. And then you have your little blurb. But again, I would follow that structure throughout. Okay. Let's see. I'm actually going to go to the details of this first project here, so we can look at a project write-up. See, now here, this is great. We got the title full, and see, look, you have a title for this one. I would have liked to have seen this title on that previous page, but it's very prominent. Here's the title. we've got a little statement about what it is and maybe what it's for. One thing that I usually like to, I've kind of mentioned this already, in your quick statement that kind of highlights what this project is about. If you can really focus on what the end benefit is of learners going through this learning simulation is, I would highlight that here, because then you're focusing on solutions. It's not just, hey, look at the thing that I built. It's, this is going to help people do this, which is going to lead to this benefit. Of course, you want to use a catchy short statement there, but I would really focus on what it helps people learn or what the benefit is. But then look, we got these icons here again. They're kind of matching from the homepage. One thing down here, learning solution, I would use bullet points for this to add some visual clarity here. And then let's see, the storyboard down here. One thing that I usually caution against is using too many images. Give them just a taste of what they need to see. I don't know that we need to see 5 different graphics for the storyboard. Honestly, I would just use this one and this one sitting next to each other. Just give them a basic idea. Give them an option to go look at the whole storyboard if they'd like. Okay. And kind of the same thing down here. If we look at the prototype images, they're very small. So I can't really see what I'm looking at here. I don't really know exactly what I'm looking at. I would recommend maybe just using 2 of them and stacking them one above the other so that the images can be larger and we can see them more clearly. So, okay. That's all I was going to share with Afroze's project here. So do you have any thoughts, Sabrina?
Yeah, so I echo a lot of the like positives that you shared about this. I love this hero section. I know there's not an image here, but I think the hierarchy is really great, even just within the buttons, right? So we have a primary and a secondary button. This is another great way to guide your user. So because this one's primary, it stands out more. This is the one that we're guiding people to click first, and then this is a secondary option. So finding ways to use this also primary and secondary is really helpful. Another great way to guide your users. I'm actually going to go to the write-up of, I think it's this first one. Yeah, again, so like I said before, when we're talking about the solutions, talking about why that is the best solution is really important. So if you think about it, our write-ups can tend to get a little bit long as we're talking about our design process. And so a hiring manager or recruiter may not read through everything, but they may want to see like the challenge, what was the issue, and how did you solve it to see if that aligns with what they're looking for. So making sure that you can tell them why you chose that solution, why it was the best solution for your learners for that situation, can really go a long way if they don't read the full process. So yeah, outlining what you did and what you planned to do or how this works in like a whole learning system is great, but explaining why is super important. Also, just doing that throughout your entire portfolio is a really big piece. Now, for ending it, it kind of just feels abrupt, right? We end with the prototype and then it's experience it. So I would consider having, if you've had users test it and you have some feedback from them, so like some social proof, some testimonials, or what you would do like next steps, implementing this with learners, evaluating it, seeing how people do, making adjustments to it, or talking about if this is part of a bigger learning system, how does it all work together? So finding a way to kind of conclude that and talking about some of those takeaways to just kind of give it a little bit nicer of a conclusion at the end. And that's all I had for this one. I really liked it. I think it's really clean and really nice. Um, yeah, I thought it was really solid. Oh, I'm doing the next one. So our next portfolio is actually from one of our boot campers who is in the boot camp, which is now the Peck Academy. And this is from Catherine. So I'm going to pull hers up. I guess I could have just kept sharing my screen. All right, so here we have Catherine's portfolio, and I actually had the honor of working with Catherine through the boot camp and working on her with her projects and giving feedback throughout this whole process. She did just recently end up landing a super cool role where she'll get to use some AI tools because she showcased AI on her portfolio. So really showcasing on your portfolio the things you want to do is super beneficial. So she showed off some AI skills. She landed a role that's going to use those AI skills. All right, so as I take you through Catherine's portfolio, one thing you're going to notice is the branding is extremely consistent. So the color palette, the design elements like these underlined pieces, you're going to see throughout. The hierarchy is consistent. So headings, body text, it's all the same every time. Like I said, that's something I see pretty often is homepage, beautiful. And then we started to get some variations as pages go. So making sure that's consistent is important. Oh, I will say, if you do struggle with keeping consistency throughout, creating a style guide for your portfolio can be super, super helpful. It's something that I did for mine. That way I didn't have to keep going back and saying like, what size was a heading one? Or was it bold? Was it not bold? Was it semi-bold? Creating a style guide for myself to follow as I built my portfolio, just like I would with an e-learning, was super helpful. So if being consistent page to page is a struggle, make a style guide. It's really helpful. It's also nice too, a year later when you have to go make updates, you don't have to like go back and search what you did. You have a style guide. So anyway, I really like Catherine's page too. Her mock-ups are very like nice, clean, professional, very crisp screenshots of her projects you'll see throughout. Again, it's that first like little piece of professionalism that people are seeing where you have these like nice crisp screenshots. Remember, this is their first impression of your work. So making sure those are nice is important. She has some really nice scrolling animations too. You can see as I scroll, you'll see start to load, which is really nice, helps with some of that like cognitive load. There's not everything on the screen at once. We have these nice little scroll animations. The navigation is also very clear. Buttons are clearly labeled. There could be some like explore this project or view my work or something like that. Like I said, those action-oriented pieces. But her buttons are clearly labeled. View project is a good one, right? It's action-oriented. Here is a spot where we could use some of those like button variations. So having a primary button and a secondary button. So keeping one solid fill, keeping one with just an outline so that we can, again, guide our users where we want them to go. I want to go to her write-up here for this featured project that she did. And I really like the organization of her write-up. Again, we have some clear hierarchy where we have the title, we have body text, we have some bold, but we can see that like consistency sticking throughout. She has her problem, she has her solution, and then she has a process overview before getting into her process. I kind of don't feel like this may be necessary to keep separate. If anything, you can probably just bring this text underneath the process as like a paragraph there, kind of give yourself some sections. And it does also feel like this text goes with the process down here. So you may not even need this heading. You can just bring the text under your bigger heading here. And then it kind of keeps it separated into these different chunks that you have. And then, yeah, she has a really good, strong write-up. And you can see kind of what Scott was talking about the last one, not giving away too much, but just enough to intrigue the user who's looking at it, keeping those consistency, using like nice grids to organize things. I think this looks really good. I liked this part too. I thought this was when Catherine mentioned using this in her portfolio, I thought this was interesting. So she took user feedback and then talked about how she implemented it, which that's what a lot of people are looking for, right? Is that you can take feedback and implement it to make your learning solution stronger. And she did that. She shows us exactly what people said and then how she did it and made her learning solution stronger. So yeah, she does really good stuff here. The one thing that I do want to talk about next is in her about section. We can't get to it from another page. It was on the home page. And then we scroll down and we can get to the about section. So I think just having that somewhere in the navigation bar so that we can get there and learn more about you is good. And then I would even consider a second button here that's like a contact or something like that. So having those two buttons again, getting to your work and to contact you. Yeah, that's everything I had about Catherine. So I'll send it over to you, Scott.
Yeah, I had some thoughts, but and again, a lot of the same things. I noticed a lot of the same things that Sabrina had brought up. The visual design is very, very tight. It's just the consistent flow and branding. I can't say this enough. I know I've said it already. It just really helps people focus on the content if it's designed well. But adding in a little bit of visual interest helps keep their attention. So that's really good. By the way, I did notice like when you were sharing your screen, Sabrina, I know the quality isn't always the greatest on the screen because one thing I noticed is, well, let me point out a couple of the really other awesome things that I noticed. I again noticed the the high quality images that you've got, the subtle shadowing in there for some visual interest. Everything matches the branding color. I mean, look at this one. These are the little touches that can separate you from other folks. Like this, there's clearly this green kind of color scheme. I mean, look, we've got the green from the plants, and there's lots of green in the screenshot. It all matches so well. So I thought that was really cool. I don't even know if that was intentional, but it works really, really well. Um, I also like how in the description, this is kind of what I was talking about. Um, Designed to reduce errors in administering medications. She's very clear about this is what you're going to be able to do in this you're going to learn how to do in this learning simulation. So those kinds of things are great. I even again would include designed to reduce errors in administering medications so that what ultimately happens, you have happy patients, whatever it may be. Obviously, you want to keep it short, but if you can add both pieces, that's really, really great. Let's see. Let me go to the featured project page. I echo again a lot of what Sabrina mentioned. One thing I'm going to say this before I forget. Sabrina, you had mentioned the process overview, and maybe that would go on here too. One other thing is that as I read the overview, this is a sequence. So you may consider, and I'm gonna kind of jump ahead. We're going to be looking at another portfolio that does this really, really well. Not in necessarily the overview, but does this really, really well. You may consider doing this almost like a bulleted, numbered list. First, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. That can help with with better scannability. If people don't want to read the whole paragraph, they could catch the bullet points and get the intended message. So that's something I noticed. And it might be a good way to kind of break up some of this text with some visual interest, with some bullets or icons that have numbers in them, something like that. But again, the consistency is great here. High quality images. Here's an example of using large enough images that you can read it. I can read everything on these images. Yes, they're kind of large, but they need to be. Okay, so I really liked that. I can very clearly see what is in all of the images. As Sabrina said, the animations are subtle but effective. They have purpose. One other thing that I noticed, I usually recommend this to people when I'm reviewing portfolios from our students: the captions. The reality is, somebody may not read this. Somebody may just go through and see the pictures and stop at the pictures. If you can use captions that very clearly indicate what this is, but not even just that, what the benefit of that thing was. Like here, it does say style guide. That tells us what it is. But if you could say the style guide helped me, blah, 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 blah. That way they're going to get the message without having to read the paragraph if they skipped over it. So that's one little tip that I usually give to folks. Now it's not required, certainly not a make or break thing, but it can be a thing that will help people not miss key information. The captions. So then the last thing I kind of wanted to mention, and again, it doesn't come through great in the Demio. That's our platform that we're using. But this gradient up here, I don't know. The gradient is kind of making it harder for me to read the links. So and really, there isn't really a gradient used on these other ones. The gradient goes the other direction, right? It goes from dark to light down here. Maybe you could do something like that up here. But also, there's a very sharp line, so the gradient isn't super smooth. It's a very, very minor thing. I personally would rather, if you're going to use the gradient, I would rather have it be a little smoother transition and not come all the way up into the actual navigation. So actually, I did think of one more quick thing: the hero section. Personally, we call this above the fold in publishing lingo. It's what do we see when we first go to the page? I have to scroll down to see the whole picture. Catherine, if you're here, you may consider reducing some of the space above here so that for most people, they would see the whole image. It may not work on all screen sizes, but if you can make it so that you can see the whole image, that might be an added little touch to the design there. So, but yeah, this Catherine's is really, really fantastic. Really, really well done. Okay, we do have one more here. I know we may go a little bit over time, but this is another really good one. This one comes from another person in our boot camp, Jessica here. Sabrina worked with Catherine in our program. Well, I got to work with Jessica, and this is another one that's just really, really well designed. Couple things I want you to notice. This is the added little touches. The background of her hero image matches the color scheme. It's this exact same green. That color scheme is featured all the way throughout. It's very consistent. You would see it on every page. Again, if you just look at the structure, everything's got good text hierarchy. There's a good use of white space. I feel like everything's got some breathing room. Look at the project here. Again, we've got the featured project that's prominent, then the title of it, and then a little blurb about it as well. We've got some social proof here. These testimonials are very clean and easy to navigate. Really, really good there. Again, as I go through here, I know we kind of need to, I'm going to go to her. This is her main project, this Bark to Basics. This is a really fabulous project. I recommend everybody go try this out because it's just a lot of fun. But look here, look, we break it up with this bar here, this green bar with the audience role and tools used with the icons to add some visual interest. Look at the problem and solution. It's problem, solution. It's making a connection between the two by putting them side by side. A subtle thing, but a really clever use. And by using the different backgrounds, we can clearly separate those two. But oh, here we go. This is what I was talking about. Look at the sequence here. We've got a visual representation of this sequence, and look at the spacing and the hierarchy. This makes it so much easier to scan the process here. I really, really like the way Jessica set this up. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Again, we need to kind of get through this, but again, look at the large images, but the organization, she uses the same similar animations that Catherine did. Oh, I want to look at her about page. Look at the hero section on her about page. It's so intentional. Look, this whole image goes all the way across, but she like intentionally positioned herself on the left here so that she could put the text over here. Just really, really nice added touch here. Okay. All right. So, gosh, I know there were some things that I had thought maybe could use a little bit of work. Tell you what, Sabrina, I'm going to stop sharing. And do you have any feedback for Jessica?
No, just looking for other places to add like a call to action, like in your about section. Again, if people are going to take the time to read through all of it, guide them to the next spot where you want them to go. So having that like contact me button or something like that. So for any portfolios, looking for those spaces to, yeah, add more call to actions and guide people where you want them to go. Oh, I did not share Jessica's in the chat.
All right. I'm actually going to share because there's one more thing I wanted to show here. Okay. I'm going to go back to her. This is kind of what I was talking about with the captions. Look what this says. It says action map identifies key foster parent decisions to guide scenario design. So if I skipped over, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to read all this. I want to go through this more quickly. I can read the caption and I can still get a basic idea of what that was. Storyboard maps the learner journey from question 1, showing choices and consequences. Adding that little bit of detail can make sure that they don't miss the key important information if they decided not to read the content. Also, look, these are like those tags that Zainab used. Process overview, step 2 of 5. Process overview, step 3 of 5. It helps me keep track of where I'm at. So yeah, just some really, really fantastic added little touches that really make it more polished. So yeah, Jessica did a fantastic job on this. So, all right. Well, it looks like we are at the top of the hour. I don't know, Sabrina, looks like we're not going to have a chance to review any live ones, but I don't know, do you want to take us home here?
Yeah, for sure. So again, thank you all who sent your portfolios in, and apologies if we didn't get to take any live. 60 minutes sometimes sounds like a lot, but it goes so quickly. And before we wrap up, we do have some big news to share. So if seeing Catherine and Jessica's portfolio page got you thinking, I want to build something like that, I want to get the feedback to build something like that, then this is your chance. Applications are officially open for our fall transition cohort of Peck Academy. starting October 1st. So the cohort starts on October 1st. Applications are open right now, and it'll be our last like big cohort of the year. And we do have limited seats because it's just Scott and I. So seats are limited to 25 people. And if you want to get a closer look at how the program works, we are having the Peck Academy tour next week. There will be a pop-up link so you can register. And that's where you're going to see like behind the scenes, meet the mentors, and kind of just get a whole feel for the Peck Academy experience. You also get to talk to some like current students too and see what their experience is like. And if you're already ready to take that leap, then we've got you covered. Right after the session, you'll be directed to the Peck Academy page so that you can be one of the first people to apply. We've also added new program tracks this year, making joining more accessible, still guiding you to build a portfolio that truly stands out. And we'd love to have you join us in the next cohort. This is the moment to take your next step into instructional design, and we can't wait to see what you create.
Yeah, thanks, Sabrina. Thank you, folks, for joining us today, and thank you again to everybody who submitted portfolios for our review. Again, it takes some guts to put yourself out there like that, but we all can learn from the work of other folks. So,
All right. Bye. Thank you all
right.
for joining us.